What up, guys? I came across this video from Soft White Underbelly. I used to watch this channel religiously some years ago. I haven't actually watched the channel. But funny enough, this video we're about to watch, The Four Kinds of Black Americans by Andre Williams, it popped up on my homepage and I decided to check a look because Andre Williams is a guy that I have seen. I have watched a couple of his shorts on TikTok and boy, I I have my opinions on him. I'll be honest, my opinion on Andrew Williams is not positive because I see him as a guy that always tries, I feel like he tries to pander to certain groups, if you know what I mean.
I hate being black. Being black is the worst thing you could ever be in America. If I could change my race, I would change it to being white. Black people believe that anyone who calls out the problems within the black community actually believe this. That we don't like being black, that we think that being black is wrong or bad. No, we just want better for black people. We're not going to sit back and apologize and bullshit our way around the problems that we have. Calling out the issues among black people should make you less than black. Saying that we have a problem and we need to come up with a solution to these problems should make you less than black. It shows that you're self-aware. It shows that you acknowledge the reality that we're living in and that you demand better for the people around you. The people who constantly act as if black people are so great and do nothing wrong. Nigga fatigue is real. People are tired of black people not taking accountability for their actions. The entire purpose of my content is to be critical on black culture, its shitty elements, and the bad representation that we give ourselves. Doing it in the most honest and unapologetic way possible. If you want to support me and my content, go ahead and follow my YouTube channel. Link is in bio. As well, go to my Instagram and follow me there if you want more content. I am going to continue to piss black people off that don't want to take accountability and acknowledge that we have a problem. Thank you, and I appreciate all the support for everyone who's followed all my pages over the last few months. You guys have been great. Continue to follow me for more. Black people have an inferiority complex. We're the only people in America that love to claim that we were something that we're actually not. We were the real Jews. We were the real Native Americans. Motherfucker, we were the real Martians. We built the pyramids and everything. And this is only really seen in black Americans. Nobody else in the world claims this ridiculous shit that we were the real people who dominate the entire planet or some crazy shit. African civilization was the least developed civilization in the world. That's just a fact. And black Americans were slaves. We're descendants of slaves. That's just a fact. Who freed the slaves? White people. Who lost hundreds of thousands of people in the Civil War? White people. Who solidified the success of the Civil Rights Movement? White people. Who constantly puts down their own people, rejecting their own identity, constantly apologizing for the historical injustices, and giving their own money and time, advocating for reparations? White people. Black people need to stop acting as if white people's entire existence in history has only been about hatred and being evil.
And I'll be honest, I have watched the first 12 minutes of this video in passing, but I wanted to sit down with you guys and really take in what he's saying and give my thoughts. I'll be honest, I don't really agree with majority of the things he says. I truly don't. Because I don't know, a lot of it just makes no sense. But I also want to hear him out in this context, at least hear him again and then share my thoughts. I will put a couple of videos so that you know who I'm talking about, Andre Williams, and then hopefully we can get to know him a little bit more in this video. Let's hop right into
it. The talk of yours that really got me so interested in what your message is, is your four, I think it's titled The Four Types of Black Americans.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Shout out to Mark Leiter, by the way. Mark Leiter is the founder of Soft White Underbelly. He covers the topics that a lot of people don't want to cover. So shout out
here
to
with
him.
me. So what are the four types?
Blacks, Negroes, niggas, niggers. So the first group being blacks. Like I said, hardworking, honest. We as black people, I would say only 20% of the population. We know exactly where we want to go.
So he thinks that the black American population, he's black American, the black American, according to him, the black American population in America, only 20% qualify as blacks, right? According to his hierarchy, there's blacks, there's house Negroes, if I'm not mistaken, there's niggers, which is the GAAS, and then niggers, which is the ERS. And so he believes that out of the 100% population of black Americans, only 20% are qualified as the black, which is quote unquote the good ones, and essentially, which I don't agree with that, to be very honest. But hey, I'm not a black American man, so what do I know?
Oh, We don't want to be represented by the negative aspects of our culture and our community. Niggas. We don't want to be represented by that. Doesn't matter if they're Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter if they're rich or poor.
I will say this. He looks clean though. He got that shit on, as they say.
They don't want to be represented by a culture that's toxic. They don't want to be represented by people who are taking advantage of them. They want to, we as black people, we want to be represented by those who are going to be in our interest and support us as a people and drive us forward as a people. So like I said, it's your average black person that speaks well, hardworking, God-loving, country-loving. They're not going to sit back and blame someone for their shortcomings, complain about, well, I can't get by because of something that happened a century before they existed. No, they're motivated to do more with what they have and build upon it. I mean, we live in America. What the fuck? I'm a black American. I could be somewhere in Angola. I can be somewhere in Zimbabwe.
Ah, come on, man. Like, why you gotta bring Africa into this? This is the thing. Like, why make your points, say your points, leave Africa out of it, bro? But go on, I guess.
Experience.
True.
And broadly, that's black in the whole sense, right? But a black American and African is completely different. We have the greatest amount of opportunity and wealth.
True.
And
and that's why for me, whenever I see these FBA guys compare themselves to Africans in Africa, I'm like, no shit, Einstein, you are in America. It's the largest economy in the world. It's the #1 capitalist society in the world. You're supposed to be better. You're supposed to make more. You're supposed to do more. You have more. So I don't understand when the FBAs try to use that as like a gotcha moment. You know what I mean?
We don't do anything with it. But black people like myself, the 20%, we're not going to sit back and keep our heads down. We're going to keep our heads forward and keep it high.
I mean, I will be honest. That's my mentality. I'm not a black American naturally, but that's actually how I see things. I'll be damned if I go through that again. That's why I say I do agree with him on some point when it comes to being resilient and not being a victim, not holding on to, not believing that somebody's better than you just because they look a certain way. That's not the way I operate. I refuse to operate that way. But so I align with him on that. I mean, I think that's kind of like the Nigerian mentality anyway. Like you're going to compete. That's what we do, right? But I feel like when he starts going into that derogatory calling of his own people, certain words, again, I just feel like it looks a bit weird. That's where I disagree with him in general. But I think him and I share a bit of, in terms of mentality of what he just said. I cannot disagree with that. And I believe even if you disagree with him wholeheartedly, you cannot deny that is a good point. That is how you become successful. You don't become successful as a group by always holding on to what makes you, why you can't win. I hope you guys see what I'm trying to say. You become successful by saying, screw it, I'm going to do this anyway. And deal with all the things that come with it.
Because we know exactly where we're going to go and what we're going to do. That's the first part. The first part.
Not looking for a shortcut.
No shortcuts, no handouts, none of that. I don't want reparations, the greatest reparations package that
again, that's something that I disagree with him on. Again, I'm not black American, so you can discount I'm not black American, but I'm black, right? I'm black African. Black is a race. So again, according to the American policy, freedom of speech. I'm exercising my freedom of speech. I disagree. I think black Americans should absolutely get reparation. Now, what that reparation should be, it's none of my business, but there should be some form of structural reparation. Now, I don't think cash payment is ideal. That's what the FBAs are hoping for. I think black Americans deserve to have, I don't know, maybe some DEI or some type of policy, which I think is better, so that, because then it's institutional, right, and protected, so that it cannot be changed. I think if such things are presented to black Americans, either maybe from the policing or, I don't know, their own territory, perhaps, something intangible that absolutely opens the door for them to also be competitive. If I'm not mistaken, I do think black Americans already have a lot of things that are available, but I think in the black community globally, one of the biggest things we face regardless is lack of knowledge. Okay, I see this in Africa. I see this in Europe. I'm sure it exists in America. That's something that I hear from a lot of Black American content creators who try to educate. So I may not be in America, I may not be an American, but believe me, guys, I know a lot about a lot by just the people I watch. So I don't remember the content creator's name, but he mentioned that one of the things that a lot of Black Americans don't know is that a lot of the things that they think is not available to them actually is. It's just that they don't ask, or they automatically think they won't get it, so they don't even try. That is a thing. That is a thing, guys. That absolutely exists, okay? That exists.
I'm here in this country. I can prosper, I can live, I can exist. I'm not in Africa, where the entire economic and social conditions are different. I'm not somewhere in the Caribbean, where
True.
It's close to America, but even with that, the economic and social conditions.
I will say, being in America is definitely an advantage. I can't lie. I mean, YouTube in Europe and YouTube in America is not the same. TikTok in Europe and TikTok in America is not the same. I know Black people in America right now paying at least more than 50% of their bills from just social media money. You understand? I know people paying their bills from just social media money, guys. It's insane.
Are different. I'm in the United States, where my ancestors were enslaved, but guess what? They overcame it. And now they exist today. And I exist today because of them, because of their resilience, because of their sacrifice, because they kept their heads high, believing that in the future, Black men and women will be free. And we all as Americans will be free to do as we feel necessary to do for our own existence, for our own survival. So that's the first group. That's the 20% of the Black community, the Blacks right there.
And the second group?
My favorite.
What do you guys think? Andre Williams really believes that of the Black American population, last time I checked, I think it was 50 million, that only 20% of 50 million Black Americans are quote unquote the good ones, and the other 80% are crap. Yikes.
The house Negro, my favorite. Because that's an interesting, when you get into that, the modern day house Negro, they would say, people who don't like me would say, I'm a coon, I'm an Uncle Tom, I'm a house Negro. No, the people that really are both Democrat and Republican. This is more the politics conversation and more the power, economics, class. Within the Black community, you have Black Democrats, and majority of Black people vote Democrat. And you have the Black conservative, the Black Republican, which I fall into that category, but I'm my own thing. I really don't subscribe to a political party. I love my country. I love my people. And
same. I think that's another thing that, now, I don't know if I agree with him that he doesn't subscribe to any political party, because this is something that I've noticed from a lot of, like, I guess you could say, educated elite Black, because he's an educated guy. Andre Williams you cannot deny that. He's a well-spoken, educated guy. He's educated. But this is something that I've noticed from a lot of, like, the Black American educated people, maybe even elites. He looks like he's pretty okay, right? They don't like the Democratic Party, but they always have smoke for the Democratic Party. They claim to not be politically affiliated, right? But they always have smoke for the Democratic Party without directly calling out the Republican Party. And a lot of them tend to lean right, but they say they don't have any political affiliations, but they never have equal smoke for both parties. So yeah, that's why I don't really believe him. But I think at some point in the conversation, he did mention, oh well, I do lean right. Okay, there you go. But I do agree with him. I myself, I am also not politically affiliated. I have never trusted politics. I don't believe in, maybe because I'm Nigerian, and in Nigeria, you just know if you're not rich, if you are middle class and lower, bro, forget politics. For what? Like, we know that. I think this probably goes for a lot of Black African countries, maybe except Ghana and maybe except some other, Southern African countries. But if you're West African, Central African, maybe even East African, we already know the deal, bro. So that's why I've never been a political guy. Like right now, I don't give a damn whether you're left or right. What I tend to care about is more, maybe you could call it developmental politics, if that's a phrase. Meaning, I don't care about your policies, buddy. I care about where I'm at, what needs to be done to make the lives of the people there better. So maybe that's why I've always been drawn to communal things. Like, we know what we need in this area. Okay, we need roads. How do we get the roads built? We need schools. How do we get the schools built? We need teachers. How do we get teachers here? How do we pay the teachers? Like, that's it. I don't care for anything, blah, blah, blah. Like, I need practical things that can tangibles and intangibles for the people so that we can see it and feel it, from healthcare to education to infrastructure to safety to security. That's it. That's why I am a very, very big fan of communal leadership. The community should have a more involved approach to their development, and that's it.
And I want us to prosper. That's all that matters to me. I don't really care about if the Republican Party wins the midterms. I don't really care if I have a Republican president. I care about if I have a leader that can represent us as Americans. And of course, me being black, I want someone who can serve the interests of black people. If I was white, I want the same thing.
That's true. That makes sense. So you see, that's why I'm like, okay, I have to watch this documentary and really get to hear him talk, because if you just watch Andre Williams on YouTube, or well, he has a YouTube channel, but I knew about him on TikTok, man. Golly, if you just watch his TikTok clips, you would hate this guy, bro. You would hate this guy. But now that I actually hear him talk, I still don't agree with the way he talks about majority of Black America. I truly don't agree with that, to be very honest with you. But now that he talks and breaks down and goes into it, we kind of share some things in common in terms of belief, especially when it comes to autonomy and not being politically aligned. I personally think, because I see that a lot of Black Americans tend to vote automatically for Democrat, not automatically, they tend to vote overwhelmingly for Democrat, but I think that's not a smart move, because as a group, you always have to vote for people that have your interest at heart. Don't be automatically aligned with any political party. It's a dangerous thing, bro, especially as a group. Who gives the best deal? That person gets your vote. And when they get your vote, hold them accountable. But then that's besides the point.
So it's a very interesting conversation when you get into the difference and how they're really similar, both Democrat, Republican, Black. The Black Republican will sit back and tell you, especially now, they're very pro-Israel, they're very pro-establishment, and they don't really talk about the Black issues because many of them are country Blacks.
Yep.
That never really had to live around the nigga shit, the nigga culture, which nigga culture is Black. Black culture is nigga culture. They never had to live around that.
God damn, bro.
Or
I don't
Black
like that.
kids who lived in suburbia. They went to nice schools. They may have gone to, the HBCUs, and they got bullied as Black liberals and became conservative because they didn't want to be left out, because they didn't want to be a part of, not without a group. They didn't want to be considered, I'm alone. They couldn't do the thinking, the critical thinking to build their own worldview and build their own identity. So they needed another group to fall into. So that I despise them the most because they're the closest thing to me in terms of ideologically, in terms of voting. And they do a great disservice in trying to provide a viable alternative vote socially and economically for Black people. The Black Democrat, I can respect him because he understands exactly what he believes, as much as I disagree. One is grifting, the Black Republican, the Black conservative. The Black Democrats are stupid. That's it.
So, but again, so that means is Andrew Williams calling himself a grifter then? Because I don't just take what he's saying here. I have watched a lot of his content. Yes, I've even joined a lot of. I haven't joined a lot. I joined one of his live stream. I tried to join, but he was focused on America, and I'm sorry, I'm not American, of course. And I dropped respect. He was quite respectful to me. I won't lie. He was very respectful to me. He was kind. I dropped myself because I didn't want to enforce something that was against his policy. He wanted to actually have a chat with me, but I dropped off because I was like, okay, dude, you made your boundaries clear. I respect it. I let other people who are American come on and have a chat. But if you hear him talk, you will see that he is a conservative. You do lean conservative. You do lean to the right, which is okay, I guess. But he just said that the Black Democrat is stupid and the Black conservative or the Black Republican is a grifter. So doesn't that mean you're a grifter too, Andrew Williams? Or please, if you're watching this video and you've just gained the context of what I'm talking about, am I wrong? Am I missing something?
And stupid, all that means is you know better, you're just choosing not to do better. They'll sit back and sell the poisonous lie that black people are oppressed, that, it's the white man's fault, that, we're forever to be victims. And they capitalize on that black pain and that black lack of drive, lack of purpose in order to win elections. Biggest example, Jasmine Crockett. I was telling somebody this on the street. Jasmine Crockett. She didn't come from the ghetto. She didn't come from a poor background.
Yeah.
She went to law school. She had a 2-parent household.
She was cosplaying.
She's not somebody that came from the bottom.
Yeah.
But when she gets on TV, she'll put on this act and she'll start talking and snapping and trying to act like the average black woman from
that is wrong.
Compton or from
cosplaying,
from Detroit or from.
I will agree, guys. Sorry, I'm pausing a lot. Listen, man, I gotta talk. It is what it is. I'll put the link to the original video. You can go watch it myself. And also, this is a reaction video, so I need to. If I don't talk, if I don't actually turn this original content into my own content by reacting and giving my thoughts extensively, then I don't think it counts under fair use. And listen, I am building a reaction channel, but I don't want to be just a lazy reaction channel. I react to videos because it's something that I really, really want to talk about. So this is my nature of, I'm not a lazy reaction channel, guys. I truly put my effort and I truly give my thoughts on many things. So if that's not your speed, it is what it is. I get it. But if you came to hear my thoughts on a couple of the points he brought up, hey, stay. Grab your water, drink it, and let's keep enjoying and let's keep brainstorming. But I want to hear what you guys think as well on this point he mentioned. I have seen some black people, even here in Europe, right? They want to capitalize on that stereotype, which is the average black American is ghetto and some shit, and black people fall for it. Black American people fall for it. It's like that. Jasmine Crockett is not poor; she's a suburban girl. And I like Jasmine Crockett. I really do like her. I will never be against, a black man or a black woman who's positively representing black Americans. I will never be against that. Never, But I did feel that despite the fact that I like Jasmine Crockett, she was a bit pretending to be something she's not. There's nothing wrong with being from suburbia. There's nothing wrong with being a bit maybe middle class. I'm a middle class black person, even here in Switzerland. Like, I'm not going to try and role play as a thug when I'm not. I do catch a lot of smoke. Don't get me wrong. I mean, yesterday I was in the bus and a group of black guys, I think they were speaking German, and I do understand German. They were calling me a black Swiss guy. They were laughing at me. And I just laughed as well. Hey, it's not this. It's just a joke. It's a joke. They were joking to tease. Hey, you know how us men do. They call me a black Swiss guy, bro. Just because I was just, hey. You could tell that I'm your boy ain't struggled too much, But I don't like when black people do that. I have seen that.
From Richmond or from anywhere
white
you
people
can name
do that too.
Predominantly black. It's like you don't come from that. So why are you trying to pretend to be that? Why are you trying to? Because they want to sell nigga identity to win. People who don't know, who are not informed, who are not educated
call it
on
nigger identity, dude?
The current
crazy
political conversation or current events in order to win. It's no different than what we see with immigration, what we see with so many different things. You have an elite that will use the bottom, the useful idiots, as a means to get what they want with immigration. I mean, people have always been coming to this country. People are always going to come to this country. But both parties use immigration as a way to maintain economic power. Republicans do that. And the Democrats, voting power. It's not good for us as a country. It's not good for me as a black person, not good for any white person. Nobody's saying that people can't come here, but when we have people pouring into our country, what does it do economically? What does it do culturally? What does it do into the demographics of this country? That's not a good thing. We want people to have better lives. We want people to prosper. But if I'm not able to eat, if I'm not able to get a job, if most of my generation is going to be working 2 jobs just to get by.
Yeah, but that's not the fault of immigration. No. See, this is a misunderstanding that a lot of people don't understand. That's not fault of immigration. Majority of the black people, especially the FBAs that always talk about, immigration. Majority of you guys are working low-skill jobs, bro. You've been in America for 400 years. You should not be fighting at the bottom. You notice you don't see qualified, skilled people talking about immigrants and immigration. It's always the people that are working the very low-skilled jobs who have the most to say about immigration. You know, especially if you're a black American. If I'm being honest, to be brutally honest with you, and this might catch me some slack, but I think that as black Americans in general, overall, despite what you guys have gone through, I still believe that black Americans should be up there still. Okay, I know some black Americans love to talk about, you know, the Black Wall Street, fantastic. Build it again. How many attempts in the past 50 years have been made to rebuild it? Build it again, let it fall, and then let's see what we can do. That's what I would say. I mean, you just can't say, oh, we built Black Wall Street. You know, you didn't build, the modern black American did not build Black Wall Street. That wasn't you. That was your ancestors, sure, but that wasn't you. It's not Andrew Williams' generation. It's not Tariq Nasheed's generation that has built Black Wall Street. No. Build it. And let's see. Do group economics. Black people in general do not do black group economics. Black Americans do not do black group economics. If I'm not mistaken, the dollar spends the American dollar spends the least time within a black community compared to other groups. Does that make sense? Meaning, as soon as a black American person makes money, that money in the shortest period of time, it goes out into other people's communities. It goes into mostly frivolous things, right? So now I know some black Americans like to talk about, our spending power. But what use is your spending power when when the money you earn spends the least amount of time in your community? Then it's of no use. That means that your spending power, which is over $1 trillion, it doesn't do you any good because it goes out rather than stay in. When I'm editing the video, I'll find some data behind this. Let's continue.
They're having their first kid. They're struggling economically. They're up their neck into debt. Why are we letting people in when we can't even take care of our own? That doesn't make any sense. But both parties, they benefit from that. And then going back to the black thing, both Democrat and Republican benefit from black Republicans not acknowledging the problem, talking about it from afar and being the useful opposition. And then the black Democrat feeding off that black pain and pinning one against each other when really this is a class thing. Honestly, it's a class thing. And that's controversial for someone on the right to say that, to talk about class. Is usually.
Oh, you see. So he just confirmed that he's on the right. So you see. So that means he's calling himself a grifter. So you're calling yourself a grifter, Andrew Williams? Because earlier you just said the black Democrat, which is a left-leaning party, is stupid. And the black Republican, which is usually on the right, is a grifter. You just said, oh, that is, it's unusual for somebody on the right. So that means you just called yourself a grifter. You see, guys, I'm not just reacting to video I'm reacting to video because I'm really, really listening to what is being said.
It's a left-leaning thing, but who cares about right and left? It's more about what is beneficial for us as Americans and as a whole.
So what is the third group?
Niggas. 60%. 60% of the black community is filled with niggas. Loud, ghetto.
What the man, this is he starts getting into territory where, I'm not black American. I've said that. I think you know this by now, right, from my accent and stuff, but this is where it starts getting a bit tricky with this guy, man, genuinely.
Ghetto, argumentative, entitled. I've said this many times, it really comes from the black Gen Xers. And so there's a generational element that comes into that. That's a big problem. They walk around with a chip on their shoulder. Somebody owes me something. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything other than a blanket when you're born, taxes when you're living, and a coffin when you're dead. That's it. That's the three things you get in life. That's it. And right now I got the blanket and I'm paying the taxes and we ain't dead yet. I don't know about the coffin. So we're doing pretty good. All right. That's it. That's the only things I've been given, and that's it. But niggas will be nonviolent, but very aggressive in their rhetoric and the way they operate. And it's hard to really say this, but someone needs to say it because that's how we are. Stereotypes exist for a reason. They don't exist because someone just put them on. They exist because it's an examination of behavior. Today's racism isn't, I don't like you because you're different. That's, 100 years ago when the world wasn't so interconnected. You didn't have a vast means of travel by land, by sea, by air. No one really saw, what that black person looked like, and only a few people did. No one saw what an Asian looked like, only a few people did. So it was very new. But today's racism is more, your behavior's poor.
I don't know, bro. I mean, I see what he's trying to say. I see what Andre is trying to say, but I disagree, bro. Listen, bro. Anti-blackness is a thing, and it's a lot of the people that have some beef with black people have never even met black people, but they have some beef with black folks. You have people who you have Arabs being super anti-black. Yet, if you look at the history of the Middle East, the crap they go through has been from white men and other Arabs, but yet they all hate black people. It's like, what the fuck? Same thing in Europe, right? Same thing in Asia. They hate you for how you look. Most racism is based on what you look like. Forget it. And I'm not a victim mentality kind of guy. I'm just being brutally honest with you. I feel like and this is where I disagree with Andrew Williams, because I feel like he's doing the thing that is a bit passive aggressive, meaning you're just trying to say, oh, it's not because of how you look and it's more your behavior. But why do you automatically assume I'm going to behave a certain way when just because of how I look? That's dumb. And when I see black people, black Americans using this as their talking point, I feel that this is why I say, and I think this is where this rhetoric fits in, where he called right-leaning black conservatives grifters. And I think he's grifting. I do believe Andrew Williams is a grifter, to be very honest with you. I do believe he's a grifter. I've always said it, I haven't spoken about, but I think he's a grifter. Because, I mean, he literally just called himself a grifter in this video. Because he said black Democrats, black leftists are stupid. Black Republicans, conservatives are grifters. And he's just mentioned almost 2-3 times post that statement that he's right-leaning. So what does that mean? You're implicating yourself as a grifter. But I don't believe that majority of the racism today is how you behave. I think that's a cop-out. I think racism is lazy overall. It's a very lazy thing. And of course, it appeals to people who don't have critical thinking. Hence, they like it. And when I see black people use that as the way, but the racism is more about how you behave. That's a lie. A lot of people that are racist are cowards. So they're going to hold on to that as like but it's how you behave. But one thing you also need to understand, Andrew Williams, is that somebody who is racist wants to be racist. That's one thing that I have learned in my life. And I'm going to stay on this topic for a minute. One thing that I have learned is that somebody who wants to be racist just wants to be racist. There is no excuse. I'm not going to give racist people excuses. Fuck that. Screw that. Because one thing that I've also noticed is that a lot of the people who are anti-black, a lot of the people that have so many racist things to say about black people globally, you also have to ask them this question, okay? What do you watch? When I had the time to engage with people who had racist beliefs, I always ask them, where did you see that? Oh, and then, you know what they'll say? They'll say, oh, it's everywhere. I'm like, what do you mean everywhere? Where? Oh, it's on the news. What news? What part of the news? Because what do you mean? Who do you think commits the most crimes? If I ask you this question, Andrew Williams, if you look at America as a country, zoom out. Majority of the people who commit the crimes in America are white men. Most of the violent crimes are committed by white men. I'm going to try and put the statistics that I saw. It's the truth. This is the truth. So that's why I say a lot of the people that want to be racist just want to be racist. Racism is illogical. Don't get me wrong. There might be some, pattern recognition there, but come on, bro. Really? Where do you look? Because on my FYP, the black people I see are productive members of society. If you, as a non-black person, you specifically seek that out, that's something you got to understand about people that are racist towards you. They want to confirm their beliefs. That is why you see anytime they're talking about black people, they always go to the absolute terrible representation. I mean, I have seen Europeans till this day, when they want to talk about Africans, they still go to the tribal people. I'm like, buddy, you have to work hard to find that picture. And I'm not ashamed of my tribal. I'm not ashamed of having tribal people in my blood. I'm absolutely not ashamed of that. God, no, hell no. I am a proud African man. So you cannot shame me for showing a man who is wearing skin. That's me. I had a guy one time on TikTok, a black American FBA guy who is anti-African for some reason. He had a tribe man eating bushmeat. And he was like, Africans, are these your people? I went on his live stream and I said, yes. Yes, absolutely. That is part of me. I am part of, he is me and I am him. He's my ancestor. I was not ashamed of that. Just like when racist people try to use huts and mud huts as an insult to you. How would that be an insult to me? It's a house. It's mine. The African man that they're trying to be racist to, he owns that fucking land. It's his house. He doesn't pay rent. And guess what? That land also has goats, has sheep, has hens. But you know the funny thing? Because it's looked at from a racist standpoint, they need to confirm their beliefs. But as soon as you lighten, have you noticed? It's just like how, when white people are trying to be racist to Africans or black Africans, for example, right? If it's an African person doing it, it's shitty. But as soon as it's a Japanese person doing it, all of a sudden it's earthly living. Have you noticed that? Now you have white women mainly doing the same thing that African man is doing that they used to make fun of. All of a sudden now they call it living off the grid. Now it's cool. I mean, I literally saw like a European startup building mud houses in Europe and they're calling it eco living. Oh, when you do it, it's great. When we do it, it's trashy. So that's why I say at the end of the day, racism is just because somebody wants to be racist. That's it. Stop saying it's behavior. Because oftentimes, black people just mind their business, especially Africans, bro. Most Africans just mind their business. But somehow, Asians have beef, Europeans have beef, Arabs have beef. You even have Latinos who are getting deported brutalized by ICE. Having the most beef with black Americans. Like, I'm just trying to put some comparison here, because it's not. I think it's very disparaging when black people, black American in this case, Andrew Williams, is just racism is about how you behave. What that does is that it takes away accountability from the person who's being racist for being stupid, and automatically placing that responsibility on the person who's being racist too. Oh, it's got to be how you behave, huh? Because I can tell you, when I face racism from people and by the way, I have faced a lot of racism from quote-unquote people of color, right? Mind you, when I had the most racist things done to me, I was just minding my fucking business. Minding my business. Nothing, I was not behaving anyway. And they still were racist to me. So stop that. That's why I really disagree with that point of, racism is how you behave. No! A racist is going to be racist. A sexist is going to be a sexist. So stop giving outs to people that have a negative belief. I mean, I have another friend of mine who is a teacher, or he teaches languages. He's a very intelligent black man, a very intelligent African man. He speaks multiple languages, self-taught. He goes online to teach people. He gets called the N-word. Boom. What did he do wrong? Try to teach a language? Let's get back into the video, but I truly don't like when people like this try to diminish racism to, it's just how you behave. No, stop that. I disagree with that point totally. Totally. Because when I look back into my own life, whenever I faced racist things, I was oftentimes just not doing anything. I was just minding my own business. But somehow, somebody somewhere felt the need to make me their punching bag. But let me make something very clear. You punch me, I punch you back, bro. I don't have time for that. I don't take the high road. Because every group has their own shit. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back into the video.
You're acting like a nigga. I don't like that. This
I
is
disagree.
unbecoming of what
Really,
the standard is in a civilized.
I disagree. I've spoken on this, but I'm gonna let it play out, and then we'll go to the next group because I disagree with
society.
this
We don't want this in our society. That's what it is today. And when you tell black people that, they get mad and say, no, they just being racist. Okay, what's racism? There's nothing systematically holding you back. You just don't like you being called out for your actions. So niggas will sit back and complain, and there's a reason for why I do it. There's a reason for why I make the content I do. There's a reason for why I speak the way I do. Because it's really to piss them off. You got to piss them off. Because I will not be represented. I will not sit back as a 25-year-old. I will not sit back in 20 years and have somebody that's 20 or 25 coming to me and saying, you failed and we are worse off, or even the problems that still exist, they persist and they're worse than when you started. I won't sit back and allow that to be me. So that's niggas.
And then?
Niggers. The no word, you can't say that one, but we're saying it because someone needs to say it. It's a harsh one. I know it's very.
Again, I disagree. Again, this whole niggers and all that, I disagree with this thing. Again, this is why I think he's a grifter. I don't hate him. I don't. But I call a spade a spade. He's a grifter. Again, I'm not saying he's a grifter because he's right leaning. There's a lot of grifters on the black side, on the left leaning side as well. There's a lot of grifters. The black community has a grifter problem globally. Absolutely globally. There's a lot. I think Dr. Umar is a grifter. There's a lot of grifters in the black African space. There's a lot of grifters in the black Caribbean space. There's a lot of grifters in the black American space. A ton. Obvious grifters, but somehow they always get a lot of black followers. But that's going to be a topic for another day. But this is why I think he's a grifter. He is clearly you can just tell he's playing into the white racist talking point. Every community has their shit. But this idea that black communities own is just worse is beyond me. There is no way you're going to tell a guy who's like me, who's well knowledgeable of every other community's beef, that ours is worse. Or black Americans is worse. Even black people in general. Okay? Because let's look at the stats. I know a lot of people like to go into per capita stuff, but brother, listen to me, man. Okay, let's do per capita. Yes, a lot of black people do stupid shit, but so do Asians. So do whites. So do Arabs. So do Latinos. So do Native Americans. So do biracial people, multiracial. Like, what's the point? Why does every other groups, including people like Andre Williams, make it look like it's only? I mean, let's compare from group to group. Which group would you say is the most violent on the planet right now? Look at the past 50 years. Which group would you say has been the most destructive to not just individual? Look at destabilizing entire regions. Is it black Americans? Is it black Africans? Is it black Caribbean? Hell no. But somehow we are the bad guys that every other group hates for some reason.
Very uncomfortable for people because there's a historical context to the term. I can't sit back and completely just disregard that. But the reason for why I do is because you have to separate. And I'm big on segregation in the black community. You have to separate black people from the niggas and niggers. You have to. You've got to do that. The modern day house Negro is going to manipulate. He completely will be X'd out because he feeds off of.
He reminds me, I'll be very honest. I have seen people like Andrew Williams in my real life before. He reminds me of this kind of, no, listen, I'm not going to take anything away from him. He's an intelligent guy. Salute. He's a well-spoken, intelligent. He's intelligent. He seems to be academically smart. He seems to care. I'll give him that much. He seems to care in his own way. But he reminds me, Andre Williams reminds me of those rich, suburban, black kids who maybe grew up more around non-black people and had to take in a lot of racism, discrimination to fit in. And I think that does something to you. This is something that I've seen, right? That does something to you because a lot of the times, if you see a black person a black kid surrounded by non-black people, oftentimes they've had to go through a lot of shit. And if you've been exposed to that environment for a very long time, it does something to you. It's gotta. You know what I mean? So I think that exposure, that constant repetition, oh, you are bad, you're a bad person, your people are bad, you do the most crime, you do this. At some point, you're going to integrate that. I think there's a lot of self-hate there. I think there's a lot of self-hate because this categorization, nigger's a nigger, I feel like he's pandering to, he's definitely grifting because being a self-hating black person globally is profitable. Now, of course, you're profitable until they don't need you anymore, then they kick you to the curb because he's pandering. He's clearly playing into the racist talking points that the dominant group uses in America. That's a no. This is not rocket science. This is clear as day. But I get it. Being a self-hating black man who talks down on his community, especially you. I think you can talk about your community without going this extreme. In my opinion, I hold the African community very accountable. I do, and I go scorch earth. But you can always tell that I love Africa. You can always tell, despite the fact that I am very harsh on Africa, because rightfully so. You can tell I love Africa. You can tell I love Africans. You can tell. I don't go into the whole, oh, you're savage monkey, gorilla. Come on, I don't do that. Because no, why? There's no need for that. You cannot deny, yes, black Americans have gone through probably more crap than other groups. And that's not an excuse. That's not me trying to make an excuse for them. Absolutely not. But you cannot ignore that. You cannot just jump to 2026. Oh, come on, man. You know? I still think black Americans should be way ahead than they are right now. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like someone like Andrew Williams is just going extremely crazy because he's pandering to the racist majority, if that makes any sense. He's clearly, if you listen to this guy, you already know, you know, though he claims to not be politically aligned to any, you know, but he contradicted himself that he's right-leaning, and then he implied, or he didn't imply, he said that right-leaning Republican blacks are grifters. So essentially he just called himself a grifter. You know?
He enables the behavior of the niggas and niggers. He does. He doesn't want to work with the black person because the black person is going in his own direction and he can't make money off that. But the niggas and niggers, he can make money off that. But niggers are very, honestly, the drug dealers, the murderers, the rapists, the people you see on the 5 o'clock news, you know, they've got a long, extensive criminal history. In some cases, they've been neglected. You know, we got to acknowledge that fact, that there's a lot of neglect in the black community when it comes to crime and mental health. But mainly it's done by culture. We glorify a culture of violence. We glorify a culture of dysfunction. We're coming from households that are dysfunctional. We're coming from households that are completely, there's no father, and really there's no mother at all. There's just people who oversee, get them to school, maybe feed them every now and again. Nobody exists in the household for black children today, especially my generation. The biggest generation of neglect and abuse.
What do we do about this?
So this goes into what I was saying before about the reason for why I piss off niggas. There's 3 reasons for why I do what I do. One, as I said, piss off niggas, to make them feel uncomfortable, to make them feel angry. I want them to feel isolated because their time, this culture, this identity, it's going away. We're no longer going to have it. So to piss them off. The second, to have conversations with black people who may not like my delivery, who don't like the way that I call it out, but understand and can relate to what I'm talking about. I like to have conversations with those people. And a good 80% of the time, they always come out on my side and agree. Okay, I see what you're saying. I just don't like the way you're going about it.
Yeah.
You may not like the way I'm going about it, but you shouldn't like the way you're being represented by these people. You shouldn't like the.
No, I do agree, and this is where I push back on the FBAs who say that Africans are trying to be them, and I said, trust me, brother. Maybe in the 90s, sure. Maybe in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, sure. But I can guarantee you guys right now, and maybe this ties into what Andrew Williams is saying. I guarantee you right now, I think most Africans don't want to be you because the music. I've never agreed with this new trend of music that promotes drugs and calling you. I mean, I think Black American men are probably the only group of men on this planet that have built an entire music industry on demeaning their women. Right? Like, am I wrong? Like, what, hip hop and rap? God damn. Calling your women bees and whores and this and that. I'm like, what the hell, bro? You put that kind of music out there, you push it out into the world. Bro. So trust me, he's not wrong. The public representations of Black Americans right now is not cool.
The fact that people are pushing this element, pushing this existence and profiting off of it, both in our community and outside of our community. You should be more angry at that, not the way that I'm calling it out. And then finally, to motivate Black people, I don't really care about your politics. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. I'm right wing, far right, whatever you want to call me. I care more about you being an American. I care more about you being a productive American.
Again, you know, I don't agree with Majority's point, but I see where he's coming from. But dude, you do care. You do care about you are right wing. Just own it, dude. Just own it. I mean, I don't see, one thing I don't like is when people spew certain talking points, have unfair animosity for one group, and then claim not to be politically aligned while never calling out the other group that they claim not to be affiliated to. I talk about, I don't care. You do care. I just find that I find that like you're implying that we are dumb. Like we cannot think for ourselves. I just feel like that's folly, you know?
That's going to add to this country, that's going to contribute to our community, contribute to our civilization. So if you're tired of being represented by these people, you don't want to be, you need to speak up. I do this to make people speak up, to encourage them to speak up against this every day. That's the goal. And how we fix it, really: crime, education, the family. It's three things. You got to fix those things. You got to focus on the schools. Black children, they're not reading at the grade level they should be. SAT scores are underperforming. There's some Black schools in some Black areas where they're doing very well, but in majority, it's not so well. And it hasn't been for the last 30 years. It's improved slightly, but still, it shouldn't be at the level for people that's been in this country. We talk about the 400 years we've been in this country in slavery. Well, we've been here 400 years. We should be at the same level as white people in this country in terms of academically, in terms of economically and influence. We do it, influence. But academically, we shouldn't be at the bottom. Native Americans are at the bottom. That's what they are statistically. And we know the historical conditions of them. They've gone through far worse. Black people have gotten far more than the Native Americans have. You know, Native Americans, all I got is casinos. That's it. Black people got, affirmative action, HBCUs, TV companies, everything. Everything. And yet we do nothing. So education, very important. And then crime. We got to be tough on crime. No more letting, somebody
agree.
Multiple, they've been in and out of jail. We got to be very tough on crime. When it comes to the death penalty, I'm for the death penalty. When it comes to murderers, rapists.
So this is something that him and I also agree on. I'm also for the death penalty. I believe in the death penalty. I truly believe that certain people shouldn't be on this planet. If you assault kids, if you grape kids, in fact, this is my take. If you unalive somebody intentionally, you should be unalived as well. If you grape kids, you should be graped as well and then unalived. If you grape women, you should be unalived and graped as well. If you plan something to hurt, or not even plan, if you do it, that maybe you destroy somebody's life, like you should also face that same consequence. I've never understood why when you're going to put people like serial killers in life imprisonment for what? Why are we doing that? You know, you have pedophiles, people who have touched kids, raped kids. You have men who have raped women, sitting in jail for what? 60 years? For what? I don't care. I believe in that. I believe in the death penalty. Specifically for people that hurt women, grape kids, death penalty. or feed them to animals. I don't know. Make them useful. Life imprisonment makes no sense to me for those kind of people, in my opinion.
Honestly, people selling drugs, hardcore drugs that are poisonous to the American family, to the black family. I'm not talking about marijuana. I'm not talking about psychedelics. I'm talking about, heroin, fentanyl. That's a very common thing that's glorified in the music, in the media. And it's been like that for the last 30, 40 years.
And crack cocaine.
Yeah. And look what it's doing to this country. Look what it's doing to black people. Look what it's doing to everybody. But mainly we're talking about us. We want to sit back and we're looking at the results of it. It's not good. So we've got to be very tough on that. I'm a big advocate for the death penalty when it comes to drug dealers, murderers, and rapists, really. And I'm for rehabilitation. It has to be a balance of both. It just can't be one over the other, because you're not just going to solve the problem with a blanketed solution. There's got to be some gray area, some nuance to it. And I'm all for that. Rehabilitation is necessary for those who want to be rehabilitated and provide them with a way of getting out. But for those who don't and just want to glorify that lifestyle, what can we do for them? Why am I going to sit here and pay for you to live 20, 30 years and you've done this to a family? Their daughter's gone. The breadwinner in their family's gone. And you get to sit back and live, and they're no longer there. Or they got that trauma from this abuse that you put on them. I'm not for that. I can't sit back. I think that's just a great disservice on that family and that victim to let these people continually go on. I'm not for that.
I agree.
Do you feel like things are getting better or getting worse for the black community?
Things are getting worse. But things have to get worse in order for it to get better. Overall, the country is getting worse. I mean, black fatigue exists for a reason. It's a collective tiredness there.
Do you think slavery is something that black people like to they still bring it up today, or they still have the attitude of
slavery is a choice.
Can I be honest as well? I still think I agree with him. I think slavery was a choice. I really do. I'd rather be dead than be a slave. You'd be damned. I'm sorry. And in fact, I will go for, and again, that's why I say I do agree with him on certain points. I wouldn't call myself I am definitely not a right winger. I am not a left winger. If anything, I am a liberal. I would say I have more liberal beliefs. I mean, keep in mind, I am an African man. For those of you who do not know, I am an African man. I am a Nigerian man. And to the average Nigerian man, I am a lefty wing feminist man. That's what they've called me. Because I am not the norm. Because I'm pretty open, I'm pretty chill. I generally believe in live and let live. But I do believe there should be some controls. I do believe in that. I do believe in that. I truly do believe in that. I truly do believe in that. Yeah. I truly, truly do believe in that. But I would say this. I do believe slavery was a choice. I know that there was a lot of slaves that took their own lives. I think that, and in fact, I do believe if black men resisted even more, slavery wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. I feel like black men got comfortable with slavery. This is not on the women. This is on the black men. I feel like black men got too comfortable with slavery, maybe because they got to bang some women. I don't know, but I do feel like a lot of the black men got comfortable with slavery, and they were not willing to get unalive themselves. If they did this consistently, man, I swear to God, it would have ended. If you were willing to be unalived down to be put in chains, I'd be damned, bro. You're not taking me. I'm sorry. We're dying here. Ain't no way.
The choice. Mentally. We choose to sit back and live in this box. And we don't have to. Nobody's forcing us to. Well, there is, but really nobody's forcing us to. The people who are our own people, and also external elements into that. But it's mainly our own people who profit from it. So to bring up the slavery shit, it's like slavery was common all over the world. And they just want to blame white people for it. I mean, are we going to acknowledge the fact that black people Africans sold black Americans into slavery?
That's not true.
The Jews had involvement in the slave trade. Arabs have still a large involvement in the slave trade. Still to this day, are we ever going to acknowledge that? No, they don't want to do that. Especially on the topic of Jews, they never want to do that. They never want to have that conversation.
I can edit this together. I'll probably do some of that here. What topic can I bring up that'll give you something you want to talk about now? Because you covered those little questions I brought up perfectly.
The civil rights movement. That's my biggest thing. We got to talk about the civil rights movement.
I want to hear what he has. I haven't watched the video to this point.
It wasn't. And
what did he say?
I've got to work on pushing the black people. Just, it wasn't. And
what
did he say?
What topic can I bring up that'll give you something you want to talk about now? Because you covered those little questions I brought up perfectly.
The civil rights movement. That's my biggest thing. We got to talk about the civil rights movement and how that was really not for black people. Just, it wasn't. And I've got to work on pushing this a little bit more, putting out a video, putting out more. I hate to really say content because I don't do this to make content. I do this because this is a duty of service. I can walk away from this. I don't have to do this at all.
What do you think of Martin Luther King?
My grandfather hated Martin Luther King. Really did.
I don't know, bro. I like I said, Andrew Williams reminds me of those black kids that most likely grew up around maybe certain non-black. I feel like civil rights, you shouldn't talk down on it. It definitely had a lot of more positives than negative for black people. Come on, man. Like, again, this just goes into that pandering thing that I said. But we're gonna let the video play out. We'll let the video play out.
Yeah. My grandfather was big on segregation. He was not for integration. And the reason that, like I said, it's very...
I do agree. Now, maybe that's what he's talking about. Because again, I only watched 10 minutes of this video in the beginning, but I haven't watched... Now, I do believe that integration was wrong for black Americans. Now, maybe that's why he disagrees with Martin Luther. And I disagree with that, integration. I think black Americans would have done really, really well if they pushed for some type of segregation. Like, sure, the whites don't want you anyway, fuck them. Go have your own thing. If I'm not mistaken, the black economy was really doing well when they had no choice but to have their own thing. And boom, integration wasn't
uncomfortable to have like these conversations in public because people are like, what do you mean you're for segregation? Okay, one, people naturally segregate. We see this in every high school lunchroom. We see this at every party. There's a reason for why there's black clubs. You go on one party, now there's white clubs. There's gay clubs. There's everything. Everyone wants to be around their own people. If you go in a part of an Arab part of town or a Hispanic part of town, they're going to want to hang around their own. And that's fine. People naturally do that. They've been doing it since humans have existed.
True.
And since we've come in contact with each other, we still operate in that way. And it's always going to operate in that way. Now, are we always going to come together in the middle? We do. That's something we naturally do. Hey, I want to go hang around these people. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But people naturally want to be with their own.
Yeah, true.
So what Martin Luther King pushed was integration.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Look at the result.
Okay. In that case, I agree with him. People naturally segregate. That's why I don't really bother when I don't care. People segregate. White people prefer white. Black people prefer white. Black. Asians prefer Asians. People prefer their own, bro. It's just what it is. Deal with it.
The schools are integrated. Schools, black children still perform poorly. Now they have access to the white schools and the white literature and the white resources. And guess what? The kids are still performing below the standard. When they weren't integrated, the schools were better. Look at it. Everything when it came to integration has gone down for black people in this country. Things haven't gotten better. I'm not saying that we need to have separate water fountains and, get on the back of the bus. We're not saying that, but it's more of freedom of association. If you're white and you want to be around white people, fine. Martin Luther King's entire movement was not genuine and was not for the betterment of black people. I'm going to be honest with you, for the betterment of Jews. 50% to 75% of the funding mainly came from Jews. 50% of lawyers, mainly Jews. Stanley.
I will agree with that on the... I don't know about the Jew stuff. I don't know about that. But what I do agree with is, yes, that's what I also know. I think maybe that's why I don't get triggered by certain things. Like if you are in somebody else's country and you're not the majority, you're gonna deal with people just not wanting to hang out with you. It's not malicious. People prefer their own. That's just what it is. I mean, listen, if I had a choice to be surrounded by Nigerians or West Africans who are also middle class, who are, who own who wouldn't say, I would say no to that,
Levinson, had a lot of influence over his speeches and was a great advisor and friend to Martin Luther King, Jew. Now, people love to bring up the communist element. I don't care about the communist element. That's like, this isn't the Cold War. I don't care about that. But when you bring up the Jewish aspect of how they had so much influence over the civil rights movement, it was mainly for their own interest, for their own benefit. And they would tell black people, we're the good whites. We're the good ones. We're not like the ones over there. But we look at the financial discrimination. Who owned the banks, who procured the loans. When it comes to redlining, black people always love to bring up redlining and blame white people for it. I mean, who was in charge of much of that? Who had a lot of stake within real estate? Jews. I'm not saying this because I have a hatred towards Jews. It's more of, I want people to be held accountable. We've been holding white people accountable. Oh, you've got to sit back and slavery, Jim Crow, you did this. Okay, we're tired of hearing about that. Now it's black fatigue. Niggas, you guys are really ruining the country. Shaniqua, stop yelling at Walmart. Come on, do better. Accountability. For some reason, the moment you start telling Jews to hold themselves accountable and to hold them accountable for their actions, that's anti-Semitic. It's going to lead to another Holocaust. We can't do that. And the one thing that they fear, the one thing that a lot of Jews within power hate, is seeing black people speak up on this topic. Look what they've done to Candace Owens. I'm not a big fan of Candace. I think she's an airhead, but I like her for what she represents. She got to start working with PragerU. She got to start working with TPU, not TPUSA, but TPUSA. She was one of a big part of that. But Blexit, with the Daily Wire, with Ben Shapiro, she was surrounded and brought up by Jews. The moment that she started talking a different tune, singing a different tune, well, we've got to cancel Candace. We've got to get rid of her. Why is that? It's because to find out who rules you, figure out who you cannot criticize. Look at who you cannot criticize. And that's a big problem. We're seeing that right now. And I want the Jewish community to be held accountable for their actions. I want them to be able to, I want us to be able to all, if we're fucked up and we're doing an injustice or doing wrong, we were your friends in the civil rights movement. When I criticize them, remember who helped you out.
I don't know about that
now,
stuff.
Given what I just mentioned, I can sit back and cry about what white people have done. I can sit back and cry about what Jews have done. But at the end of the day, it's black people who have to deal with the problems now. I'm going
to end the video soon, guys. I think you've gotten my reaction. That's pretty much enough.
Nigga, what are we doing today? And where are we going to land tomorrow?
Fair.
That's more important. I can cry about spilled milk, or I can sit back and go get some new milk. To have some cereal in the morning.
Agree.
That's what I want.
Me too.
I can't cry about the milk that's been expired and spilt and evaporated, and it's not even on the floor anymore because I mopped it up. And we still crying about it. Oh, remember why you spilled the milk? The milk spilled. Nigga, we mopped the milk up 10 years ago. And you still crying about it. I want some cereal today. And black people refuse to go get some more. I'm telling you, they refuse to do anything else other than complain. And what kind of people does that? What kind of people are we if we're just going to do